The Shadow, a night that chills the bones. Far from the noise and pollution of the city, nestled deep within the dense forests of the Murree Hills, stood this mansion, known to the locals as the Haunted Mansion. Behind its ancient crumbling walls lay a truth so terrifying that few could ever fathom it. My name is Hamza, and I am an architect. I had been sent by a private firm to survey the structural integrity of this old estate. Accompanying me was my friend and photographer, Danish.
The first night. We reached the mansion's gate just as dusk was settling. The architecture of the building was a masterpiece of a bygone era, but at that moment, it stood like a gargantuan, decaying carcass. The moss clinging to the walls and the windows, which looked like shattered eyes, filled me with an inexplicable sense of dread. We stowed our gear in the drawing room. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a silence fell over the forest. A silence so heavy it felt painful to the ears. Suddenly, I felt something brushing against my feet from beneath the floorboards. I looked down. There was nothing there, yet the hair on my arms stood on end.
The second night. It was nearly 3 a.m. I was working on my files when suddenly I heard footsteps coming from the floor above. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. Danish was asleep.
Mustering my courage, I grabbed my torch and began to climb the wooden stairs. They groaned and shrieked with every step I took. As soon as I reached the first floor, a shadow stood in the middle of the hallway. It was humanoid, but its arms hung down past its knees. Its head was tilted to one side, as if its neck bones had been pulverized. My breath hitched. As I shone the torch on its face, a scream died in my throat. There were no eyes on its face, only two deep, fleshy pits from which a thick black substance oozed. It turned its head toward me, and a sound erupted from its throat, a sound like a screeching, tortured beast. I bolted downstairs and locked the door behind me.
The third night. The next morning, we decided to leave, but our car wouldn't start. We were trapped. As soon as the sun began to set, black smoke started pouring out of the mansion's walls. The temperature inside the house plummeted. We tried to light a fire, but the flames turned blue and flickered out. Suddenly, strange, grotesque markings began to emerge on the walls. They were written in an ancient, unrecognizable language. Danish was losing his mind in terror. Then he let out a piercing scream. I turned around to see a long black hand emerging from the wall, grabbing Danish in its clawed grip. His eyes bulged, and without a sound, he was dragged into the darkness of the wall. I ran. I looked around, but every door and every window of the mansion had vanished. I stumbled into a room where the walls were covered in the impressions of thousands of human faces. They were all watching me, laughing. I began to suffocate. My hand flew to my throat. I felt something invisible squeezing it from behind. I looked into a mirror and saw the same shadow standing behind me. It whispered into my ear, "You are now a part of this mansion." Since that day, those who pass by the mansion say they see two shadows in the windows that never leave.
One is mine, and the other is Danish's.